This conference will now be recorded.
So hello and welcome to this webinar number 13 by Excel Basement Private Limited. And today in this webinar, we will be learning about how to append the data in different situations, how to merge the data or apply the different kind of a joins. And we will be discussing about six different kind of a joins and available in Power Query, or you can say Power BI. The mechanism will be the same. Either you are applying merge or joins in Excel Power Query, or in the Power BI, the interface is same. And then we will be discussing about the relationships when we have the data model and we try to create a relationship of different kinds, for example, one to many, one to one, or many to many. So what's their purpose and how we can apply that? So let's get started. I would like to request one last quick feedback in the chat window. If my screen is visible to you and my voice is clear, kindly write yes in the chat window so that we can begin now. Okay, so thank you so much for the feedback. So about me, for those of you who don't know me, um, I am Rahim Zulfiqar. I'm the certified analytics and data specialist, recently from digital marketer. I'm the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert at Microsoft Education. I'm Microsoft Certified Global Challenger. I'm also Microsoft Certified Trainer from 2016 till present. I have done 2 masters in my Microsoft Office Specialist program that is related to version 2013 and 2016. I am the founder and chief spreadsheet officer of Excel Basement Private Limited, and for the last 7 years, I have been associated with a different corporate clients for Microsoft Excel, and for the last 4 years, I've been teaching Power BI to various industries people. Recently, I'm also being a community leader for the Tableau. So in today's today's webinar, we will be discussing about first, we will discuss about types of joins which are available in Power Query or Power BI. And we have 6 different kinds of joins available. As you can see on my screen, you can see a list here. So you have the left outer, and the left outer says all from first matching from second. Then we have a right outer join, then we have full outer, inner join, left anti-join, and right anti-join. So just to have an idea so that I can assume that which kind of audience is live watching me on the webinar and also after the recording, uh, do you have any idea about the joins which can be available in Power Query? Have you used previously joins in the data? If you have used joins previously, kindly write yes in the chat window. If you haven't, write no in the chat window. All right, so we have a different feedback. Most of you haven't used the joins. Some of you have used the joins. So no worries, I will be starting from the very basic, that how you can apply or merge the data by using Excel Power Query or Microsoft Power BI. As I told you, the interface remains the same. The steps will remain the same. Either we perform in Excel Power Query or in the Power BI. So primarily, what was happening is previously when we don't have Excel Power Query, most of the IT guys used to get data from the SQL, and they used to write a language, structured query language, SQL. And those IT guys, what they do is they write some coding. As you can see, if I need to join, if I need to apply a join which is called left join from 2 tables, right? From 2 of the tables, if I need to apply the join, I need to write this code. So writing a code is not easy at the beginning. You need to learn the programming language SQL, right? And after learning the programming language, you will be able to connect the data source, and you need to fetch the data and apply the joins by different programming syntaxes. So for the business user, it was very difficult to learn the programming language from the very start and then apply the merge on the data. And similarly, if you need to apply the right join in SQL, again, you need to write some specific lines of coding. And then if the coding is correct, you will get the right join of your database. So the problem was that the business user was not able to quickly understand the languages. And for that purpose, what happens is in future is still the SQL is very famous language to get the data from the servers, from different type of servers, and to apply the merge and joins as well. But what happens is we have an Excel Power Query or the Power BI, we can just simply click on buttons, select the join type, and the system automatically gives us the required result without applying the codes, without doing the programming. So that was the advantage, and that is currently the advantage. If you want to apply the join in Power Query, you can simply see that we have a list of different joins types available. For the business user, you need to understand that which type of join will be very useful for your data, for which kind of data you are required, and you will apply the joins. And in this today's webinar, I will be explaining each and every of the joins and their outputs so that fundamentally you can understand how they react and how they respond as an outcome. And we are not required SQL for the joins between the two tables. Okay, so that's the advantage here. Now let's come to the example. We have a very first example where we have two tables. The first table is on left side, which reflects of sales of products, and we have four different columns in it. The first column is product ID, the second column is product name, then we have some dates and the respective amounts. And this table is known as, for example, as a fact table. And primarily, might be some of you don't know what is fact table, but later on in this webinar, you will be exploring that what are fact tables in the dimension table as well. On the right side, I have one more table which contains some information. For example, we have product ID, again we have product names, and in this table we have an additional new column which is called stock location. So stock location is not available in the left table, whereas it is available in the right table as well. But what we need is we need to locate, as we can see, there are three sales which are matching with between the two tables. One is related to the canard and the second one is related to the blue band. And we need to look up, we need to fetch and merge that data with together, and we need to get the stock location from the other table as well. Now it's all depend on the situation that what kind of a join you will apply and how they react. So we will be going through one by one with an example. Okay, so for applying the joins in Excel Power Query, you need to go to Data tab first, and you need to click on Get Data, and then you will go to the merge options. Okay, and I will tell you there are a lot of ways you will find later on Google or YouTube videos, but in this webinar, I will tell you about one of the easiest way to get merge the data between two tables and apply the join as well. So if you are using Excel previous versions or the older versions like Excel 2010 and 2013, you will get a separate tab for the Power Query. But if you are using the latest version, you need to go to Data tab, and from there you can get the Get and Transform group, and you can apply the Power Query joins. Okay. So this is the demonstration that how you have the Excel data, and you go to, when you go to the merge options, you will see in this screen you have two tables. Table one on the top side, whatever table you will select here, this is called the left side table. Okay, so table one is on top selected, this is called as a left table. Table two is the second table, this is called as the right table. And between these two tables, first I'm applying the left outer join, and left outer join says that all transactions from the first table would come, and also the matching from the second as well. So the criteria matching from the second table will also be added as an output. Okay, so let's say if this is the data, if you have understood this example, so the first join we will be applying in this today's situation is the left outer join. So for example, if we have two tables, the first table consists of 4 columns and the second table consists of 3 columns, and between these two, if we want to apply the left outer join, so you can see that I have highlighted few of the rows that will definitely matching with each other, right? And by applying the left outer join, see what happens if these two tables joins or merge between together, and if I select a type which is called left outer join, so the output will come like this. So all the transactions from the left table, all the transactions from left table has been my output, plus from the right table we have the matching transactions with each other. So this is the output of left outer join. Okay. Let's go to the next example. Again, if we have again these two tables, and we want to apply the right outer join this time. Okay, before that we applied the left outer join, but now we want to apply the right outer join. So what happens is, so the all the transactions from the right side is available with us, and all those matching transactions from the left table is available with us. So this is how you decide that which kind of a join is available and suitable for your further analysis purpose, and then you select the right type of join in Power Query or the Power BI. Both joins has a different outcome. Those transactions who are matching with each table, definitely that will come as an output, but if you have selected the right outer join, all the transaction of the right table will also come as well. Next type of join which we have available in Power Query and Power BI is that full outer join. Now, what is meaning by the full outer join? Again, we have the same example, and this time we have two tables, right? And between these two tables, uh, let's say if we need to apply the full outer join, so all transactions will come together, all the data will be merged with together. Okay, so let's say if I apply the full outer join, so all the transactions from the left table is also came, all the transaction from right also came, but those transactions who are intersecting with each other, who are matching with each other, are also on the same row. So the transactions from the left or right table match from each other is on the same row, whereas all transactions has been came from table 1 left table and table 2 right table as well. Next kind of join which we have available is the inner join. So sometimes we need a less data. We don't need for all the data to be as an output. We need those data which is matching only. So again, with the same data, with the different two tables, if we apply inner join on this kind of a situation, we will get the result as like this. So only those transactions who has match between table 1 and table 2 has been our output. Okay, so in few of the situations you just need to have all those transactions who are matching with between two tables. Okay, second last join we have is called the left anti join. So left anti joins means that, for example, again we have two tables and we apply the left anti join on this, so the output will remains all the transactions which are not matching with each other will be left, and the remaining transactions will be as an output, because the word anti reflects that the transaction which are not matching between the two tables, the remaining transactions which are not matching from the left table has been our output. Okay, and similarly, if you understand the left anti join, we have also right anti join. So what right anti join will gives us an output, from the right table, the transition which are not matching with the left table will be as an output. So if we can see the right anti-join output, you can see here that all the transactions from the right table which are not matching from the left table has been our output. So we have so far discussed in this webinar 6 different types of joins, uh, and it's depend all on the situation that how you want your output to be for the further analysis. Okay, and the next part is that I want to show you that how we can apply the joins between two tables in Microsoft Excel Power Query, and those all the steps which we will be seeing in the Power Query will remain same as in Power BI. So let's go to the demonstration. So now in Microsoft Excel, we have same these two tables as I show you in the PowerPoint presentation, and I will be practically applying a different kind of a join between the two tables. So for a quick feedback, if you can see my Excel screen and my voice is clear to you, kindly write yes in the chat window so that we can proceed further. All right, so thank you for the feedback. Let's begin with the practical side of by applying a different kind of a join in Microsoft Excel Power Query. So we have two tables, and I will go to the data tab, and my this first table is not a normal range, it's already converted into the table format, and I will go to get and transform group, and here I can find an option which is called from table or range. So what I'm doing is I will be pushing this data into the Power Query, and I will make a connection of it so that this data should connect within the Power Query domain. Okay, so what I will do is I will click on this from table or range button, and this will open a new window for me, and this is the Power Query window, and in the previous webinars many of the trainers has explained you about the Power Query. So this is the interface of Power Query, and here what we need to do is we need to create a connection first. So for creating a connection, what we will do is, because we don't need any kind of a transformation. If we need to do any kind of a transformation or changes with the database, so you can do that. For example, if I don't need a time here, I just need a date, I can simply click on date and replace current, so my date is correct. So for example, if you need some transformation, you can do it, otherwise you can skip, because we just need to create a connection first. So I will quickly go to close and load menu, and here I will not select close and load, because if I click on close and load, the exact data will be pasted on the Excel interface. What I need to do is I need to create a connection, and for creating a connection, I will click on close and load to button, and here import data window will appear, and I will just click on only create connection, because I just need to create a connection of this table into the Power Query. So I selected only create connection option, and I will press OK here. So as soon as I press OK, you can see that table 1 connection only has been shown in the right side of my this panel, and you can also preview the data as well. So now for the second table, I will also create a connection for the second table, and again I will go to the data tab, and I will click on from table or range, and here the Power Query window will appear. We have a preview of our data, right? And for creating a connection, I will just click on close and load to again, and I will select only create connection option, and I will press OK. So now we have two tables, table 1 and table 2, and both are successfully made as a connection. Now our duty is to apply a different kind of a joints and give you a demonstration that how different kind of joints behaves as an output. Okay, so for example, let's to merge the data or to and to apply the joins. Okay, what we need to do is we will go to the get data option, and from this menu we will go to combine queries, and here you can see two different options. The first one is the merge and the second one is append. So merge and append both are two different things. We will be applying merge in these first examples. For the appending, we will come later on this webinar. So we will go to the merge option, and a window will appear in front of you where we need to select the different tables. So we have two tables. So on the first, we will select the table one, which gives us a preview of all those four columns, and at the bottom, we will be selecting table two. So for instance, as I told you earlier in the webinar, whatever table you are selecting at the first will be known as the left table, and at the bottom, whichever table you select, this is called the right table. Okay, and then you have a choice between a different kind of to apply the join kinds. And as I told you earlier in the webinar in much detail as a fundamental, that each kind of a join gives you a different kind of an output. So starting with the most primarily and most common kind of a join, which is called the left outer join, which do all from the first matching from the second, right? So I will click on this, and also I need to identify the primary key for matching between these two tables. So as I know that the product ID is the most commonly available between these two tables, so I will just click on the product ID column in table 1 and table 2, and as you can see at the bottom, the selection matches 3 of 8 rows from the first table. And as soon as I press OK, there will be an output in the Power Query interface. So now here in this interface, you can see that the first 4 columns represent the left table, in which we have the product ID, product name, date, and amount. And from the second table, if you open this drop down menu, in the second table, we have the product ID, product name, and stock location as well, right? So if you need some specific column, you can just check mark that. If you don't need any column, you can uncheck that as well. For the aggregate side, if you want to do some calculation, you will go to the aggregate side. But for in our current scenario, we don't need to perform any aggregation. We just need to expand the data from the right table. And also we need to uncheck the option which is called use original column name as prefix, because this is not relevant here. So I will press OK, and all the transactions from the table to table 2, which is the right table, which were matching from the table 1, has been expanded. And after that, I need to click on close and load button to get my output finally on the Excel interface. So now the Power Query will bring all the data by applying the left join on my Excel interface. So this is how you apply the left join between two tables as a left join. Okay. Next, we can demonstrate about the right join. Again, we will go to Data tab, Get Data, Combine Queries, and we will be clicking on Merge. So first we will select the table 1, then we have select the table 2, and now you can see there is a difference. Previously it was showing the menu, the drop down list was showing table 1 and table 2, but now here it's also showing merge 1. So if later on, if you need to apply the merging or joins between the new tables as well, you can do that. But for now, in this example, we will be applying merging joins between table 1 and table 2. And in this example, now we are applying the right outer join. So if the IT guy is doing this kind of a job, he would be writing an SQL. And for the SQL, you need to write some lines of coding. So now this is the advantage for the business user, that he don't need to write any kind of a coding. He just need to select the right kind of a join from the list, and then he can get the output as well very easily. So this is the self-service business intelligence from the Microsoft, that the business user don't need to deep dive into the coding whole day, as he just need to understand the right purpose and the concepts of the joins and the other application features, so that he can do his work without any dependency on the IT as well. So now in this situation, we have applied the right outer join, and when I press OK, again the interface um, goes into the Power Query window, and then from here we will be expanding the table 2. And when the data is expanded, now if we want to do any transformation, we can do transformation. We have a lot of features available, or we can simply click on close and load. And now the data has been joined, and you can see the output of a right join. Okay, so all the transaction in the right table plus the matching from the left table is now being merged together, right? Now full outer join. So how we can do the full outer join? Again, we will go to data, get data, combine queries, merge. But before doing the full outer join, for example, um, if I write Kannur in capital letters, okay, and here we have a small case sensitive issue. For example, we can also check if we have a data, the rows are matching but they are case sensitive. On the left table the spelling is in capital letters, but on the right side it's not in all the capital letters. So we will be applying the outer join, and we will be having an output that the case sensitive is the issue here or not. So let's go to get data, combine queries, and we will click on merge. And from now here we will select table 1 and then table 2, and we will select the join kind, which is called the full outer, and full outer means all rows from the both tables. Okay, and we will select the primary column, which is product ID, which is available in both tables, and we will press OK. So now the interface will takes me to the Power Query window, and here we need to expand the data and then close and load. So now I will expand the table 2. Okay, and I will press close and load button. So now as you can see that the Kannur spelling is in capital letters, product ID, but here is in small letters. So this also matches with each other. Even eventually, if we have a different spellings, for example, here you can see the product name is written in the proper format. If I write here the column name in capital letters, still the join will work. The case sensitive issue in the Power Query comes between the titles when we apply the logic of appending the data. So when we do the appending, we need the case sensitive, we need to take care of case sensitive headers of the tables. But when we are joining two different kind of a tables, the case sensitive is not much a matter of issue, as I have demonstrated you. Okay. So the fourth one, fourth kind of a join, which is called the anti-join. Let's perform that. So I will go to get data. I will click on combine queries, and I will click on merge. First, I will select the table 1 here, then again table 2, identifying the common column. One more thing is that you will find later on my YouTube channel as well. I have recorded some of the videos as well, that for when you joining two tables, you this is not a rule that you primarily go with the one table, common column. You can select more than two columns as well as a sequence, and on the back end this is working as a concatenate. So this is generating a new key at the back end, and these two columns, for example product ID and the product name, has been joined together as a concatenate uh, concept, and then it will search out for the transaction which are matching with each table as well. So either you can go by selecting a different kind of a single selection, or the multiple column selection between the tables. But now for our, in this current example, we are going with a common column and a single column matching, which is called the product ID. And now we will be applying the inner join. So inner join only gives an output whose rows are matching with each other. Okay, so let's press OK, and the interface of Power Query will come. And here we need to expand the table 2. So I will expand the table 2 here, and simply I will click on close and load. So my all the data will fetch in the Excel spreadsheet as an output from the Power Query, and you can see that in the NT join you will only get the output which all those rows which are matching from left table and the right table, right? So the second last kind of a merge is available with us is we will go to combine queries, we will click on merge, we have left NT join and the right NT join, and we will be applying it quickly, and we will be proceeding to the next topic of the webinar. So I will select the table 1 here and then table 2 here, identify the common key, and then I will select left NT join and I will press OK. So now the Power Query window will appear with the data. And as you can see that there is a formula bar here in the Power Query which consists of M language code, M language, and if you want to go to advanced editor, you can explore the M language as well. So M language is not much difficult. It just need a lot of practice, and with the time and experience, you will get that hands-on to it. But this is very important language to learn these days. So now I will expand the columns from the table 2, and I will click on close and load. So all the transactions which were not matching from the table 2 will come in the left NT join, and as you can see as an output that all the transactions from table 1 which were not matching gives me as an output, right? And the last kind of a join, which is the sixth kind of a join, which I am telling you, explaining you in the webinar, is the right NT join. So again, I go to merge option and I will select two tables, table 1, table 2. Always remember that you need to give a proper nice names to your merging databases, otherwise it will come like merge 1, merge 2, merge 3, which will you will later on you will confuse that what kind of a table it is. Always give a proper name. Product ID will be the common column, and in the join kind from this list, as now you can observe that I don't need to write any kind of a SQL here. I just need to select the right kind of a join. So in this last example, I am selecting the right NT join and I will press OK. And now the Power Query editor window is visible. And from here, I will expand the table 2. And as we can see that all those transactions from the right table which were not matching from the left is my output. So I will press close and load button and it will give me an output in my Excel interface. Right, so far so good. We have discussed 6 different kind of a join, their purposes and their behaviors as an output in the Excel. The same interface, the same concept will remain in the Power BI as well. So if we are clear with different kind of a joins, kindly give me feedback in the chat window by writing yes, and then we can proceed further to the next topic. Okay, so Muhammad Ali Sheikh is asking how to rename the merge. It's very easy. For example, if you have not given a good name and later on you need to define a name. So for example, if I need to rename this merge to, so I will right click on this and I will click on rename, and I can define a name which is called Rahim here. So later on you can rename like this as well, or for example, I will click on added button. It will um, open the Power Query editor window, and from here I can also change the name. As you can see on the right side, we have a query settings pane, and in the properties we will remove the merge 3 name and we can write a nice name to our data. For example, in my case, Excel basement, and I will again click on close and load. So now the name is Excel basement has been appeared, right? So this is how we can later on change the name. Later on you can add the steps, you can delete the steps, no worries about that. So I hope, so I have referred to the question. I've given the answer to that. Shumail is saying just need clarity about the heading of each column. If each table will it appear error if the heading is different from each table? No, that will not the case in the merge. That will be the case is the appending. In the appending of the data, we need to take care of case sensitive as well. But in the merging, we don't have need to worry about case sensitive even with the different kind of a spelling. So there is nothing to worry about in the merge case. All right. So the next topic of our webinar today is the understanding of the relationships, and this is very important topic in which you need to do some concentration. So as far we have understood that how we can apply different six kind of a joins, now we are proceeding further towards that how we can do the apply the relationships and what are the different kinds of relationships are available. And after this webinar, I will be forwarding you the practice files and as well as this presentation. And in this presentation, I have also mentioned some links. If you can see on my this slide, I have mentioned a link. So further, you can go to this link and read the detailed concept on those links as well. So when we have the data and we have now further, we need to classify that how the analysis will work. Before that, we need to create some relationships. And we have some cardinality, and each model relationship must be defined with cardinality types. So we have four different types of cardinality options available, and those are, for example, the first one is one to many, the second one is many to one, the third one is one to one, and the fourth one is many to many. So these all different types of levels of cardinality defines the purpose of creating a relationship between two tables and getting the output as an interface on our dashboards. Okay, so it's very important to understand these kind of relationships. So first one is one-to-one relationship. Okay, so the one-to-one relationships is only supported in Power BI and the newest version of SQL Server Analysis Services Tabular. And a one-to-one in a relationship can be created when both tables each contain a column of common and unique values. That's very important. When we have two tables and we have common and unique values, we can create a one-to-one relationship. Previously in Excel 2010, when we have the Power Pivot, uh, in that version, we were allowed to create a one-to-one relationship. Later on, when this the Vertipex X engine gets updated and Microsoft updated their tools with the passage of time. Now, by default, we can find very rare find one-to-one relationships. Now, by default, in Power BI or in the Power Pivots, we find the one-to-many relationship. Okay. So previously, when you go with the one-to-one relationship, here is the demonstration that there are two tables. One is for the budget, and the second is the dimension dates table. And here you have a common key, which is called the date key, which is common and unique values, which contains common and unique values. And so you can create a one-to-one relationship. And if you can observe that there are two arrows in between this line, this is called the cross directional. Okay, and the cross directional is very important when you create many to many relationships. You need to exchange all the data from two tables, so there you need to create cross directional in many to many relationship, which we will discuss later on this webinar. But creating a one-to-one relationship, you need to understand what is the degenerate dimension or the raw data span across tables. If you don't know about the degenerate dimension concept or the raw data spans across tables, after the webinar, I recommend you go to this link and read the detailed article about one-to-one relationship scenario so that you can understand in detail. The next thing is the commonly which we find the relationship between the two tables, and in our previous webinar with the Sohail merchant, he also explained about the relationships and the cardinality between the tables when we apply. So by default, we found either in the Power Query or in the Power Pivots, either in the Power BI or in the Power Pivots, we find tables, and we need to decide that which kind of a relationships will gives us the proper outcome. So in the default cases, we find one-to-many relationship when there is a concept of primary and a foreign key as well. So you also need to understand that what is a primary key, what is a foreign key, and also you need to understand that later on when we have a lot of tables in our data model, so how we will define that this data model will classify as a star schema or as a snowflake schema. I have some examples to it and I will show it to you. And last but not the least, we have the many-to-many relationships. As I told you that there are a lot of articles available on Google and the YouTube videos. In 2017, there was a detailed article written by the Met and later on Reza Red, and they told about the different kind of a scenarios where uh, there are multiple customers and there are multiple accounts with each other, and we need to create a many-to-many relationships. So we create both directional exchanges between the relationships, and this works as many-to-many. So I have also mentioned the link here in which you can go through the case study and you will find out that how and when to create the many-to-many relationships. But there are very rare cases when it's all depends on your data model, which kind of a data model you are working on, and the business flows and the different tables decide that either you create one-to-many relationship or many-to-many relationships. So for that, we need to understand if we go for the one-to-many relationship, we need to understand that what is primary key and what is the foreign key. So we have two tables here, right? The first tables, this table is of the employees table and the other table is for the orders table. So as you can see that the common column, which is called the employee number. So the employee number is available in the employees table, starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in the orders table, the employee numbers are available, but they are duplicates. They are repeating again and again because each employee can order every month or every week, right? So the transactions definitely will appear as a duplicate or reoccurring events. So in the employees table, the common column, which is the employee number, is called the primary key. And in the orders table, when the reoccurring numbers are getting into the orders table, it is called the foreign key. So on the first table, it is known as a primary key, and the second table is known as a foreign key. Okay. Another example is here we have again two different tables. The first one is the customers table, where we have three columns: customer number, first name, and the last name. And we have the orders table: order number, employee number, customer number, supplier, and the price. So we identify the common column between these two tables is customer number. So in the first table, which is the customer table, it works like a primary key, and in the orders table, the same customer number is working as a foreign key. So in these kind of a situations, we create one-to-many relationships where we have on one table we have a primary key, and on the second table we have a foreign key as well. Now let's come to the star schema overview. And I know that in today's webinar, some of the participants already knew about the star schema or heard about the star schema. And the star schema is a mature modeling approach widely adopted by the relational data warehouses, and it requires modelers to classify the model tables as either dimension or a fact table. Okay. So let's discuss. The first important thing you need to understand is dimension tables describe the business entities, the things you model. Okay. It describes the business entities. Entities can include products, people, places, and concepts, including time itself, which is called the calendar table. And then the most consistent table you will find in a star schema is a date dimension table, because the date table is unique itself. It has a lot of columns: date, month, year, quarter. Okay, and in a different kind of a format, and that will be a unique itself. It's called a dimension table. A dimension table contains a key column or the columns that acts as a unique identifier and descriptive columns. And we will look into the example as well. Whereas a fact table stores observations or events. It's very important to understand the difference between a dimension and a fact table. The fact tables stores observations or events. For example, sales. Okay, or for example purchases, for example stock balances, exchange rates, temperatures. Okay, so these all kind of observations or the events goes in the fact tables. So a fact table contains a dimension key, which is the primary key, as I told you earlier, columns that related to the dimension table and the numeric measure columns, and also the dimension key columns determine the dimensionality of a fact table. So while the dimension key values determine the granularity of a fact table. Now, for example, if you don't have a dimension table, if you have only a single flat file, and there is no data model in your Power Pivot or in your Power BI, you just have a single Excel file, which increases the chances of a data granularity. And later on, you will find the issues with the speed optimization as well. So it's better to create a data model first to understand your data, that what kind of dimension tables are available and what kind of fact tables available, and on those observations you create either a star schema or a snowflake schema. So before going into a detailed discussion, let me give you a very good learning resource. After this webinar, I will recommend you to, if you don't know anything about the data modeling and you want to start from scratch, if you are a business user and you don't have any IT background. So if you don't have any IT background, you can go to this free course, which is of 2 hours. We have 27 video lectures, and this is recorded by splbi.com. So I recommend this to the participants and later on to the viewers of this video, that do complete this course. You will get an idea of how the data models has been created and what are those important terms which are necessary before doing the analysis in Power BI or in the Power Pivot by applying the DAX. And if you find interesting this course, you can go for the purchase course as well, which is on $349, and you can see some of the demonstrate videos in free as well. There are 126 lectures available, and this is the most detailed and very excellent course on understanding the data model for the Power BI and the Power Pivots for the professionals, because without knowing the knowledge of data modeling, you will be later on stuck with the analysis. So now let's come to the star schema. The star schema consists of multiple more than 1, 2, 3 dimension tables and with a one fact table, and all those between you can create a relationship. As you can see in the picture, there is one-to-many relationship has been formed between the dimension and the fact table. And if you want the detailed understanding and a reading to it, I have mentioned the link at the below, so you can later on visit and read about the star schema. So one more example about the star schema, we have a sales data which is presented in the center, and this is covered by different kind of dimension tables. So we have a products information in a separate table, we have sales territory or the regions in a separate table, we have employee information as a separate table, we have a dimension date or a calendar date as a different table, because later on we need to extract the MTD, PTD, YTD, QTD amounts from the database. So we used to apply the calendar date table in that DEX. And in the center, we have the fact table, which contains the observations or the events regarding the sales. Okay, so this kind of a model is called the star schema, and this is most commonly practiced in many of the organizations now. Another kind of data model is called the snowflake dimensions. So our snowflake dimension is a set of normalized tables for a single business entity. And now in this example, you can see that the product category is being connected with the subcategory, and then subcategory common key is connected with dim product, and then product is connected with the sales. So this flow is connected with a normalized tables, and there are and there might be a lot of dimensions and fact tables connected with each other. So this is how the snow flag creates. And we have a lot of examples about the snow flag, in which we have the multinational organizations which are doing a business in different kind of ventures, and then they create the dashboards in Power BI or Power Pivots. They are getting a data from the different sources and the different businesses. So then they decide that either the star schema will work out or the snowflake dimensions will be worked out as a data model. So to quickly summarize you between the dimensions and the fact table again, there are four main differences. The one is for the model purpose. So the dimension basically gives you products, people, places, concepts, and date, because it defines the business entities. Whereas the fact table stores the observation or events, right? The table structure is a single unique dimension, columns, descriptive columns, whereas in the fact table there are many columns which are repeating and reoccurring in nature, either in a numeric measure columns or a dimension key columns. So the data which is related to the dimension table is typically known as small number of rows, because we don't find a millions of rows in the dimension table, whereas you can see very kind of a large data and a big data in the fact table as well. So the query purpose is to filter or to group, because at the end of the day we apply some slicers, we go for the filters in the dashboard, so that dimension tables will be very good for that. But to summarize kind of an analysis, we go for the fact table, right? So these are some of the differences between the dimension and the fact table. So next is some of the differences between the fact table contains and the dimension tables contain is the fact tables columns aggregated. Either they can be numeric or they can be text. And there is a foreign key in the fact table. As I told you earlier in this webinar, that it contains the repeating values, so it will work as a foreign key. Between might be in the dimension table, we need to find a primary key which contains the values unique to the each row. And dimensional columns must be, we use these fields for the slicing of effects, or usually it can be a text or the numeric. Okay. So here a caution is written that no column from a fact table should ever be used in a dimension field. It's very important to understand. And never aggregate a column from a dimension table. For the aggregation purpose, we use the fact tables. Aggregation means a kind of a calculations. We need to do some analysis. We fetch the data from the fact tables. But for the presentation purpose, we don't need aggregation from the dimension table. That's for the presentation purpose, for slicing and dicing of different dimensions in the dashboards. So here is a simple difference between a star schema and a snowflake schema. Okay, uh, might be some of you know about the star schema or the snowflake schema, but some of you don't know about it. So here is a simple diagram, and star schema says that there is a one fact table. There is a one fact table, a single level of dimension fields are there. Yes, we can understand this is star schema. But whereas in snowflake schema, we have a multiple levels of dimension fields. For example, in this dimension table, it is also connected with the different dimensions. So this kind of an hierarchy is being defined in the snowflake. Okay. And then last but not the least, if we combine these together, if there is a company who has a lot of ventures and a different kind of feasibility in the business processes, and they want to do the analysis. So if we combine the star schema and snowflake together, this is called galaxy or fact consolidation, right? And the multiple star and snowflakes link with common dimensional tables. So this kind of an hierarchy is also being set. These kind of relationships are also being set within the Power Pivot and the Power BI as well. So to more understand about these kind of different data models, I have posted a link on this right top. There is a video on the YouTube available. You can watch later on after the webinar, so that you can increase your knowledge that in which kind of a situation these models are best for you, best fit for you. Okay. There's a very important uh, terms which you want to know about. See, before you need to go through these additional concepts related to the star schema, and it's very important that you understand these concepts, because without reading these concepts you will not be able to create a very robust kind of a model. So my suggestion is, after the webinar, because this is a very short webinar and I need to cover a lot of things, after the webinar, your responsibility is that you need to learn all these terms. For example, what are measures, segregate keys, what are snowflake dimensions, degenerate dimensions, what are factless fact tables. So all these terms, if you go through the concepts of these, you will be creating a better data model for your databases. Okay, so this is a kind of an homework for you. You need to go and find out about these terms, because it was my duty that I need to expose the some of the very hidden terms in front of you, so that you can learn later on. And it's like an homework for you. After the webinar, you need to go and detailed read it out, that what every terms is saying to you or explaining to you. Now the last but not the least part of this webinar is that how we can append the data in Power Query and Power BI. So starting of the webinar, we started from the merge and joins. We explored different 6 kind of a joins. Then we moved toward the relationships. We discussed about the relationships, and we discussed about the star schema and their rules. And the last part of a webinar is covered by the appending of a data. Now appending of a data, now here we need to follow some rules, that our header should be same, should be in case sensitive format. We need to take care of it. Okay, and I have created 3 different situations, which I will give you a demonstration of it shortly, and you will find out that how you can append data through the Power Query. And remember that all these steps are same in the Power BI as well, so you don't need to worry about that. So I have created a 3 different situations. So the case one, now it's very important to understand that in case one, when we have a multiple workbooks having the same table names, so we will be having a folder in which we have some different workbooks, but in those workbooks we have a tables which consist the same name. So how to append the data in the case one. In the case two, when we have multiple workbooks, and this time we have same sheet names, and I hope you all are the Excel users and you know that what are sheets and how to change the name of a sheet and where the sheet names are located. So in the case two, we have all sheet names are same, and in that situation we will find out that which kind of a appending we can do and how we can do it. In the case number 3, when we have multiple workbooks, but here we will stuck that now we have different table names and different sheet names. And in this example, we will be using one M language code, which is excel.workbook. And that M language code, with some tips and tricks, we will be getting a data when we have a different table names and different sheet names our user has defined, and we need to append that data as well. So let's come to the demonstration part first. All right, so let me close this previous file, and I have opened a new file, and I have prepared some of the folders as well. I have prepared 3 different situations: a workbook with same table names, workbooks with same sheet names, and workbooks with different table names and the sheet names as well. Okay, so first we will go with the workbooks with same table names. So as you can see that in this folder we have 4 different workbooks: Jan, Feb, March, and April. And in all the separate workbooks we have a data, and we need to get all the data into a single workbook. So how we can get the data into a single workbook? Let's do a demonstration. So for a quick feedback, if my voice is visible and my screen is visible, kindly write yes in the chat window so that I can have a quick feedback and I can proceed to the last segment of our webinar. All right, thank you for feedback. So this is how I mostly get to know that I have a good internet connectivity and I am connected to the most of the users regarding my voice and screen. So let's get into the appending of data in three different kind of situations. So first we are discussing about we have a separate Excel workbooks and we need to get all the data into a single workbook where we have a same table names. Okay, so we will go to the data tab and we will click on get data, and then I will click on from file, and here we have a sub menu which is called from folder. So I will click on from folder. So either I can click on browse button and I can locate and I go to the folders path, or I have just copied the path and I have pasted it. I will press OK button here. So now, as you can see, when you define the path of a folder, the first primarily information is appearing on the window is the metadata. Now, what is metadata? Metadata is a primarily information about the files when they are created, when they are last accessed, what are their names, what are their extensions. These kind of a common information about the files properties. So this is called metadata. And what we need to do is we need to combine all these four different workbooks data into one. So I will just click on, as you can see at the bottom, I have option or a button called combine, and there are three options to it. The first one is combine and transform data. The combine means that all the data from different workbooks will come together and it will go to the Power Query where we need, if we need to do the transformation, and later on we can close and load and apply the data into a Excel, or goes into the Power Pivot. Close and load means that combine and load means that we need to combine the data and directly load into the Excel interface. And the combine and load to option gives us different kind of options. The data will be combined and we will create a connection and we will push this data into the Power Pivot model. We don't need to get the data output as an Excel interface, because in Microsoft Excel, in one worksheet you have 1 million rows. And for example, later on, if the data increases and it goes like 4 million, 10 million, even 100 million, so there is no capacity in the Excel sheet that it combines the data of more than 1 million rows. So in that kind of a preference, when we have a big data, we combine the data, but we load into the to the data model of the Power Pivot, where we have a unlimited number of rows can be loaded easily. So now in this example, in this webinar, I have created a rows like 400 or 500 rows. So there is no need to worry about the big data here. So in the first situation, let me repeat it. We are discussing, we have multiple Excel workbooks and all the workbooks have same table names. Okay, so I will simply click on combine and load button, and now a window will appear and I need to follow some steps. So now here you can see that in the first option is in the sample file drop down menu, it's written first file, and here we have four different workbooks which are presented in our folder: Jan, Feb, March, and April, and this is sorted like ascending to descending, so alphabetical order. Now what this feature means, for example, at this point of time, all in our all Excel workbooks we have equal columns. We have four columns in all, 4 to 5 columns in on our all our Excel workbooks. But sometimes it also comes with a situation that in one of the workbook we have 10 columns, in another workbook we have 20 columns, in some workbook we have only 4 columns. So in that kind of a situation, you need to first identify that which workbook have the maximum number of columns, okay, and which workbook you need to make as a benchmark or as a base. In this situation, we have 4 to 5 equal columns in all the workbooks. But for example, if any of the workbook contains more columns to it, we will choose that file here, so that can become as a benchmark and all the columns should be appear. Also, you need to take care that the spelling should be correct and same either in capital letters or small letters in all the Excel workbooks because you are appending the data. That was not the case with the merge. But now it's very important. You need to understand that each of the Excel workbook titles should be in a same format, either is a case sensitive and should be as a same spelling as well. Okay. So I know that all my 4 workbooks have the same pattern. So I will go with the first file and I will click on data. As we are discussing that we have in every of the file, we have a table which is named as data. So we have same table name in all of our workbooks. So if we go with any of the file, it doesn't matter. So I will simply click on data and it will show me a preview here. And we have 4 columns: sales date, sales USD, year and month. And the spelling and the case sensitive is still the same. Okay. So now I will click on OK button. Now the Power Query is fetching the data from all the 4 different workbooks. And as you can see on the right side, the Power Query has done some steps, and very quickly we have got the data from all different 4 workbooks. And you can see as I open the filter menu, you can see there are 4 different names appearing here: January, Feb, March and April, from 4 different workbooks. So this is how you can append the data very easily. And later on what happens is, for example, if I add one more workbook here, for example, for the month of May, I don't need to repeat the step again. I just need to go to data tab and click on refresh. The magic of Excel Power Query is that it will automatically understand that the user has added one more new Excel file into a folder, and the data will automatically append here. Even later on, if you open any file and you add some more rows, or if you change in the data later on, you just need to go to data tab and click on refresh. Excel Power Query handle these kind of situation all for you automatically. So you don't need to worry or trouble that if later on there are changes in the data, if later on there are increase in the number of rows of the data, or later on if you add some more files to a folder, you just need to click on refresh button. That's it. Okay. So this is how this is most powerful. And even in the query properties, if you don't want to click on manually on the refresh, you can select refresh every 10 minutes or a 5 minutes. So again, you can make refresh option as an automate that you don't need to click on manually refresh. You can also set a time as well. Okay. So we have cleared about the first situation. We have some multiple workbooks in the folder, and we have appended the data where we have the same table names. Okay. So if you are clear with this example, kindly write yes in the chat window, and my voice is visible, clear, and my screen is visible. Kindly give me a quick feedback so that we can go with next 2 situations. All right. Now let's proceed to the next situation. Let me close this, opening a new file. Now in the second example, in the second folder, we have again 4 different workbooks named as East, North, South, and West. And this time in all these Excel 4 workbooks, we have same sheet names. The names of the sheets within these Excel workbooks are same. So again, the process is very simple. We will go to get data from file, from folder, and we will paste the name here. Okay, so we are pasting the path of the folder, and the Excel Power Query will read that how many workbooks are presented, and it will show the metadata of it. Now simply we need to click on combine and combine and load. And now here in this window, you can see that as we know that we have 4 different files: East, North, South, and West. whatever file you will select. In this situation, we have a sheet and all sheet names are the same, right? So the data will append very easily. But remember what I told you, that the titles should be in same spelling, they should be in proper case sensitive. It should be not like in one file it's written in small letters and in another file it's written in capital letters, because we are doing the appending, not the merging. Okay, so now either we select any of the file from the list. We know that we have a data sheet in every of the workbook, and the appending of the data very easily we can do. We will just click on OK button, and now the Power Query will fetch all the data from all different 4 workbooks and give us output as a single Excel file. So all the necessary steps has been running in the background. The Power Query is evaluating the query, and it will load a data in next few seconds. So on the right side, you can see the steps, and on the left side, you can see the data now from all the 4 workbooks. East, north, south, and west have been appended very easily, right? So all the data has been appended, and each of my workbook contains of 100 rows, and you can see that there are 400 rows has been loaded. So later on, if you add one more file to this folder, you just need to go to data tab, click on refresh. If you make certain changes to the data, if any of the file gets additional raw, you just need to click on refresh. That's the beauty. That's where the business users don't need to spend a lot of time in combining the data from the sources. And there is a more power to it. Even you can append the data from the multiple sources as well. And in future, in coming days, if I go for the advanced sessions, for the more advanced sessions, I will be telling you about connecting a data from the multiple sources as well. So now we are coming to the last example of our this webinar. Is a situation which is a kind of a tricky situation, and we will be using the M language code, and there are a lot of M language codes available. So we have a folder, we have 4 different kinds of workbooks: east, north, south, and west. And in this kind of a situation, a user has a different table names and different sheets. Now when I click on combine button, the Power Query will not append the data when we have a different kind of sheet names and the table names. So in that kind of a situation, we need to apply an M language code. And how we can do it, let me show it to you. And in the last 10 minutes of the webinar, I will be coming towards the question and answers as well. And I guess we will be signing off early today, as I have covered all the topics in a quick and useful manner. So let's come to the last part: get data from file, from folder. And I will just copy and paste the location of my folder here. Right, when we have a different table names and different sheet names. So when I click on OK, so now you can see that we have a window, and here we have a metadata. Now let me first do it a wrong side, because I need you to understand it first. Because we have 4 or more than 4 workbooks, for example, and we have a different table names and sheet names. And if we directly go to combine and load, if I click on combine and load, see what happens. So now Power Query is reading, and it will give an interface to select the file. So let's say if I click on north, we have a table called north and a sheet named north data. When we click on any other file, for example south, we have a table, but it's a different spelling. Now the table spellings and the sheet spellings are not matching in each of the workbook. And if I go with this kind of a situation, and I will press OK button, so let's see that either the Power Query will be able to append the data when we have a different table name and sheet names. Uh, just wait for a few seconds and you will get to know that if we get successful or not. Now, the Power Query is saying that there is an expression error. The key didn't match any rows in the table. So now here you can see that there's very important to follow that. Either the sheet name should be same, either the table name should be same, right? But here in this situation, both are different. So now we have understood that in this kind of situation, Excel query will not help you until and unless we will use the power of M language. So now let me just copy the link of a folder. I will go to data tab, get data from file, from folder, and I will press OK button. Now the Power Query will read and show me the metadata from all those workbooks. Okay, now here I don't need to go for combine and load. Now I will click on transform data and I will do some transformations, and I will add an M language code, and then we will fetch the data from 4 different workbooks. Okay, so I'm clicking on transform data. That will bring me to a new window which is called the Power Query window. All right, so now we have a Power Query window, and here we need to do some steps. We need to have these columns. We need to have 2 columns here first from this metadata. The first one is content. The content is very important because all the data has been stored in this column, and the name of the files we need, because later on we need to uh, check that which data contains to which file. The remaining of the columns are not appropriate at this time, and we don't need them as well. So what I will do is I will select the content and the name column, and I will right click on this. In this contextual menu, I will click on remove other columns. So all the columns other than content and name has been deleted. And you can see that in the Power Query on the right side, all the steps will be recorded, and you can cross any of the step, or you can go to the advanced editor to find out the M language code as well. Now what the second steps says is I need to add an M language code, because in this situation we have a different table names and different sheet names. So I will go to add column tab. I will click on custom column, and here I will give a name, a good name to it. For example, database. You can give any name. For my case, I have given the database name, and here I will write a formula or M language code, which is called Excel dot workbook. So equals to Excel dot workbook, and remember that the language of the M language is also case sensitive. Okay, so if you write every code in very small letters, lowercase, it will not work. You have to follow the pattern. So round bracket open, and I will select the content because I know that the data is presented in the content column, and I will close the round parentheses, and I will press OK button. So a new column has been created. Name is database, and we know that every workbook contains a table. We need to extract the information out of this code, which is excel.workbook, and we have a different kind of a column. Now don't get confused. It's very easy to catch. We know that each of the workbook has a table, and each table contains some number of transaction or rows. So we need to fetch data from each of the table in every of the workbook. So in the kind column, you will only select the table. Why I have selected the table? Because I know that in each of the Excel workbook, we have a table, and in those table we have the data. So I will come to this data column, I will expand, and now this shows me the actual titles of the columns available in each of the workbook, which is store ID, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And after clicking OK button, you can see that very easily I have got my data from all of those workbooks, east, west, north, south. And if I don't need any of the column, I can remove it because I need to get this data finally into my Excel spreadsheet. And now after doing all the transformation, I will simply click on close and load button. So the data from all the 4 different workbooks, when we have a different table names and different sheet names, by adding an M language code, we have got our data appended together. And later on, if any of the file has been added to this folder or any changes, we just need to go to data tab and click on refresh. And this is how this was a situation, a tricky situation, when the users have different table names and sheet names in the workbooks, multiple workbooks. And this is how we can address this issue with the help of M language code. So I prefer you to learn M language as much as you can, and you will get a grip with the passage of time. It's not a kind of a situation where you can learn all the things together in 1 day or 2 day. It's a matter of 6 to 8 months and a consistent practice to these kind of business intelligence tools and available in Excel and then BI tools as well. So here on this note, I am ending my webinar, and I hope you love this webinar in which I told you about different important aspects of BI tools regarding the Power Query, in which we discuss about the different kind of merges, appending of data and the relationships. And the now floor is open for the question and answers. If you have any question answers, you can ask.